My name is Theo. I'm 25 years old and I live alone in a small apartment on the outskirts of Chicago. It's nothing special. A one-bedroom place with thin walls, a kitchen that's basically a corner with a microwave, and a view of the parking lot below. I work as a freelance programmer, mostly coding apps for small businesses or fixing bugs in outdated software. It's flexible, which means I can work from home in my sweatpants. But it also means long nights staring at screens until my eyes burn. My days blend together. Wake up late, code for hours, order takeout, and binge watch whatever's on Netflix to unwind. No girlfriend, no close friends in the city. Most of my buddies are back in my hometown, and I haven't made much effort to branch out since moving here 2 years ago for a job that fell through. Life's quiet, predictable, and honestly a bit lonely, but I've gotten used to it. I tell myself it's temporary, that one day I'll figure out something bigger. That Tuesday night was no different. It was around 11 p.m., and I was sprawled on my worn-out couch, half watching an old action movie. The plot was forgettable, something about a rogue agent chasing bad guys, but it was noise to fill the silence. The apartment was dim, lit only by the TV glow and a single lamp on the side table. Outside, the wind whistled through the cracks in the window, but otherwise, it was dead quiet. No neighbors arguing, no cars honking. Just me, a bowl of leftover popcorn, and the remote in hand. Then came the knock. It wasn't a polite tap. It was urgent, frantic, like someone pounding with their fist. My heart jumped. Who the hell knocks at this hour? I paused the movie, listening. Another series of knocks, louder this time. I got up slowly, glancing at the peephole first. Safety first in a city like this. Through the distorted lens, I saw a woman standing there, her face pale and shadowed, hair disheveled. She looked terrified, glancing over her shoulder as if expecting someone to appear behind her. I hesitated for a split second. My mind raced. Could be a scam or worse. But something in her eyes, desperation, raw fear, made me unlock the door. "Can I help you?" I asked, cracking it open just enough. "Please. They're after me. I don't have anywhere to hide. Can I come in, just for a minute?" Her voice was shaky, breathless, like she'd been running. She was in her mid-30s maybe, dressed in jeans and a light jacket, no purse or anything. Her eyes darted past me into the apartment, then back to the hallway. "Who's after you?" I whispered, peering out. The corridor was empty, but I could hear distant footsteps echoing from the stairs. "Robbers! They took my bag at the ATM down the block. I ran, but they followed. Please?" She was trembling now, her hands clenched at her sides. I didn't think. I just stepped aside, letting her in, and quickly shut and locked the door behind her. She leaned against the wall, sliding down a bit as she caught her breath, her chest heaving. "Thank you," she murmured, eyes closed for a moment. "I didn't know where else to go. Your light was on." "It's okay," I said, trying to sound calm even though my pulse was racing. "Sit down, I'll get you some water." I guided her to the couch where she collapsed, still shaking. Through the window I peeked out. Two shadowy figures jogged past the building, looking around before disappearing into the night. My stomach twisted. What if they came back? She took the glass I offered, sipping slowly. "I'm Isabel," she said after a minute. "I live a few doors down, actually. Just moved in last month. I was withdrawing cash for groceries tomorrow. They came out of nowhere. Grabbed my bag, pushed me down. I got up and ran." "Jesus," I muttered. "Did they hurt you? Should we call the police?" She shook her head. "No, I'm okay, just scared. They got my wallet, phone, everything. Police won't do much without descriptions, and I didn't see their faces clearly. I just need to wait until it's safe." I nodded, not pushing it. Instead, I made her a cup of tea, chamomile, the only kind I had. We sat in awkward silence at first. The movie still paused on the screen like a frozen reminder of my normal night. But as she calmed down, she started talking more. She was a teacher at a local elementary school, single, no family in the city. "I hate feeling this vulnerable," she admitted, staring into her cup. "But thank you, really. Most people would have slammed the door." "I'm Theo," I replied. "And honestly, I almost did. But you looked like you needed help." We talked a little longer about the neighborhood, how unsafe the ATM was at night. Eventually, her breathing steadied, but she was still too shaken to leave. "You can stay here tonight," I offered. "Take the bed. I'll crash on the couch." She protested at first, but I insisted. As she settled in my room, I lay on the sofa, staring at the ceiling. The trust she'd placed in me, a complete stranger, was overwhelming. What if I'd been the wrong person? But in that moment, it felt right. Little did I know that knock wasn't just a cry for help. It was the start of something that would upend my quiet life forever. A few days after that chaotic night, I tried to push the whole thing out of my mind. Isabel had left early the next morning, thanking me again with a quick hug at the door before slipping out. She looked more composed in the daylight, her hair tied back, a faint smile masking the exhaustion. I watched her walk down the hall, then closed the door and went back to my routine. Work piled up, endless lines of code that needed debugging, and I convinced myself it was just a one-off adventure. A story to tell friends over beers someday if I ever bothered. But honestly, I couldn't stop replaying it. Her frantic knocks, the fear in her eyes, the way she'd trusted a stranger like me. It lingered, like a glitch in my system. To clear my head, I decided to take a walk around the neighborhood. It was a crisp afternoon, the kind where the sun filters through the trees lining the streets, casting long shadows on the sidewalks. My building was in a quiet part of the suburbs, with rows of identical apartments stacked like boxes, a small park nearby where people walked dogs or jogged. I hadn't explored much since moving in. My life was mostly confined to my desk and the occasional grocery run. As I strolled into the park, hands in my pockets, I spotted a familiar figure sitting on a bench near the fountain. She had a coffee cup in hand, staring at the water trickling down. It was Isabel. I froze for a second, my heart skipping a beat. What were the odds? She looked up as I approached, her eyes widening in recognition. "Theo?" she said, standing up with a surprised smile. "I can't believe it. What are you doing here?" "I live around here," I replied, trying to play it cool but feeling a rush of something, excitement? Relief? "Just taking a walk, you?" She laughed softly, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. "Me too. Actually, I live right in that building over there." She pointed back toward my complex. "Second floor, left side." "No way. You're kidding, that's my building. I'm on the same floor, right across the hall." Her mouth dropped open in genuine shock. "Seriously? We've been neighbors this whole time?" We both chuckled at the coincidence, the tension from that night dissolving into something lighter. It felt like fate had thrown us a curveball, turning a random act of kindness into something more connected. We sat back on the bench, chatting easily. She told me she'd moved in recently after a job transfer, teaching at a nearby elementary school. "Those kids keep me on my toes," she said with a grin. "Yesterday, one of them drew me as a superhero, cape and all." I shared a bit about my freelance gigs, how I spent most days debugging code that felt like solving puzzles. The conversation flowed naturally, no awkward pauses. Before I knew it, an hour had passed. As we walked back to the building together, she turned to me at her door. "Thanks again for the other night, Theo, and for this. It's nice to have a friendly face nearby." From that day on, things shifted. Knowing she was just across the hall made the building feel less empty. We started texting, simple stuff at first. "Hey, how was your day?" Or, "Did you catch that rainstorm?" I'd see her light on late at night and smile, knowing she was probably grading papers or unwinding with a book. One evening, after a long coding session, I messaged, "Up for some tea? I owe you from last time." She replied almost instantly, "Sure, my place or yours?" We ended up on her balcony sipping herbal tea as the city lights flickered below. It was small talk at first, work gripes, favorite movies. But she opened up more. She mentioned her divorce 5 years ago, how it left her wary of trusting people. "I came to Chicago to start fresh," she said quietly, staring at her cup. "But sometimes it feels like I'm still running." I listened, offering what I could, vague advice about moving forward, stories from my own aimless post-college years. I didn't push. I just wanted to be there. In return, she asked about me, really listened when I talked about feeling stuck in my routine. Those nights became a habit. After work, we'd text about dinner ideas or share a laugh over a bad day. One rainy evening, as thunder rumbled outside, I messaged, "Do you believe in fate?" Her response came quick. "If I do, then maybe fate was that knock on your door." We laughed about it over the phone, but inside something stirred. I found myself thinking about her constantly, her quiet strength, the way her eyes lit up when she talked about her students. What started as a neighborly connection was turning into something deeper, unspoken, but undeniable. I didn't know where it was headed, but for the first time in ages, my predictable life felt alive with possibility. As the days turned into weeks, my connection with Isabel grew in ways I hadn't anticipated. Our late-night texts and balcony chats had become the highlight of my routine, pulling me out of the monotony of code and solitude. I'd catch myself smiling at my phone during work breaks, replaying her stories or the sound of her laugh. She had this way of making the ordinary feel meaningful, sharing a recipe for her favorite pasta or recommending a book that kept me up reading. I started noticing little things, how her eyes crinkled when she smiled, the subtle scent of her lavender shampoo when we hugged goodbye. It wasn't just friendship anymore, it was something deeper, pulling at me like gravity. I knew I had to say it, even if it risked everything. One evening, after a particularly long day debugging a stubborn app, I made up my mind. I stopped at a corner florist on my way home and picked up a simple bouquet of daisies. Nothing flashy, just fresh and honest like her. My heart pounded as I walked down the hall to her door, the flowers feeling heavier with each step. What if she laughed it off? What if she saw me as just the kid next door? But I couldn't keep pretending. I knocked softly, and when she opened the door wearing yoga pants and a loose sweater, her face lit up in surprise. Theo, what's this? Can I come in? I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. She nodded, stepping aside, and I followed her into the living room. Her place was cozy, with bookshelves lining one wall and a half-finished puzzle on the coffee table. We sat on the couch and I handed her the flowers. These are for you because, well, I need to tell you something. She took them, inhaling their scent with a soft smile. They're beautiful. What's going on? I took a deep breath, meeting her eyes. Isabel, I know I'm younger than you, 10 years give or take, and I know we've only known each other a short time. But from that night you knocked on my door, scared and alone, something changed for me. You trusted me, and in that moment, I saw you. Not just as a neighbor, but as someone incredible. Strong, kind, real. Every talk we've had since, every laugh, it's made me realize I don't want to just be friends. My heart hasn't been the same. Give me a chance to stand by you, to be more. The words hung in the air, raw and vulnerable. Her smile faded slowly, replaced by a look of quiet conflict. She set the flowers down on the table, her hands folding in her lap. Silence stretched between us, thick and heavy. Finally, she spoke, her voice gentle but firm. Theo, you're sweet and brave for saying that. But no, I can't. My chest tightened. Why? Is it the age? Because that doesn't matter to me. She shook her head, eyes glistening slightly. It's not just the age, though. That's part of it. You're young, full of life ahead. You should be with someone your age, building dreams without baggage. I've been through too much. My marriage shattered me. I picked up the pieces, but I'm not whole like I used to be. I don't want to hold you back or make you deal with my scars. You deserve someone who can match your energy, not someone who's already weary. But I see you, I pressed, leaning forward. All of you, the strength, the warmth. That's what I want. She reached out, touching my hand briefly before pulling away. And that's why it hurts to say no, but I have to, for both of us. She stood up, signaling the end of the conversation. I nodded numbly, mumbling a goodbye as I left, the door clicking shut behind me like a finality. The days that followed were agony. Our texts dwindled to nothing. No good mornings, no shared memes. I'd hear her door open and close in the hall, but we'd avoid eye contact, pretending to be busy with our phones or keys. The balcony chat stopped, her light would flicker on, but I'd stay inside, staring at the wall. Every evening I'd make tea for one, the empty mug mocking me. Work became a blur. I'd stare at my screen, code errors piling up because my mind was elsewhere, replaying her words. A person who's already weary. It stung, not just the rejection, but the way it echoed my own fears of being too young, too naive. I knew she felt it too. Once I caught a glimpse of her through the window, sitting alone on her couch, phone in hand, screen dark. No calls, no messages. The distance wasn't angry, it was silent, suffocating, worse than any argument. I'd lie awake wondering if I'd ruined the one real connection I'd found in this city. The pain gnawed at me, a constant ache, making every day feel heavier than the last. Those weeks after Isabel's rejection were a slow burn of heartache, but life didn't stop. I threw myself into work, coding late into the nights to drown out the silence where our texts used to be. We'd pass each other in the hall occasionally, awkward nods, forced smiles, but the connection we'd built felt like a ghost haunting the building. I missed her voice, her stories, the way she'd make tea just right. Part of me hoped time would heal it, that I'd move on, but another part clung to the what-ifs. What if she changed her mind? What if I hadn't pushed too soon? Then, out of nowhere, my mom decided to visit. She called that Saturday morning while I was nursing a coffee, her voice bright and insistent over the phone. Theo, I'm coming up to see you. Bus leaves in an hour. Be ready for some home cooking. She lived a few hours away in a small town in Wisconsin where I'd grown up. We weren't estranged, but visits were rare. She worried about me being alone in the city, always nagging about finding a nice girl and settling down. I hadn't mentioned Isabel to her, or anyone really. It felt too fragile, too personal. She arrived that afternoon, bags in hand, hugging me tightly at the door. Look at you, all skin and bones, you need real food. We spent the day catching up. I showed her my latest projects. She fussed over the apartment's clutter. It was nice, comforting in its familiarity. The next morning Sunday, I suggested we grab breakfast at the little cafe around the corner. Nothing fancy, just eggs and coffee. As we walked in, the bell jingling above the door, I froze. Isabel was there, sitting at a corner table with a newspaper and a mug. Our eyes met for a split second. She looked away quickly, but my mom had already spotted her. Theo, isn't that your neighbor? The one you mentioned once? Mom waved enthusiastically before I could stop her. Isabel looked up, offering a polite smile as we approached. Good morning, she said, standing slightly. I introduced them awkwardly. Mom, this is Isabel. Isabel, my mom, Clara. Mom beamed, shaking her hand. Oh, what a pleasure. Theo's told me about his kind neighbor. Join us for breakfast? Isabel hesitated but agreed, sliding into the booth across from us. At first it was pleasant. Mom chattered about her garden back home. Isabel shared stories from her classroom, laughing at Mom's jokes. I sat there tense, watching them bond over small talk. Isabel was gracious as always, her warmth drawing Mom in. You're so put together, Mom said, patting her hand. Theo could learn a thing or two. But as the meal went on, Mom started probing. So, Isabel, are you married? Kids? Isabel shook her head gracefully. Divorced a few years back. No kids, just me and my students. Mom nodded sympathetically, then turned to me with a wink. Well, Theo's single too. You two seem to get along so well. I choked on my coffee, but Isabel just smiled politely. It wasn't until we were walking back that the shift happened. Mom linked arms with me, whispering as Isabel said goodbye at her door. She's lovely, Theo. How old is she? Late 20s? I swallowed. Mid-30s, I think. Mom stopped dead, her face hardening. Mid-30s? And you're... what, seeing her? Don't deny it. I saw how you looked at her. Back in my apartment, the interrogation began. Mom paced the small living room, her voice rising. Theo, she's 10 years older than you. What are you thinking? She's been married, divorced. She's got baggage. You're young. You need someone your age, someone to build a future with, not this. I tried to explain that age didn't matter, that Isabel was kind, strong, that she made me feel alive, but Mom cut me off. I won't accept it. If you continue this, I'll cut you off. No more calls, no more visits. I'll make you come home if I have to. You're throwing your life away. Her words hit like a gut punch. Mom had always been my rock, especially after Dad left when I was a kid. The thought of losing her support terrified me. Under that pressure, I caved. Fine, Mom, it's nothing serious anyway. But it was a lie. To her and to myself. That night, after she went to bed on the couch, I stared at my phone, drafting a message to Isabel. I'm sorry, I need some time, family stuff. I hit send, my thumb hovering before it went through. She read it almost immediately but didn't reply. The blue ticks mocked me. The next day, Mom insisted I come home with her for a bit, to clear my head and visit Grandma, who was getting frail. I agreed, packing a bag numbly. As the bus pulled away from Chicago, I gazed out at the fading skyline, my mind swirling. Those days back home were torture. Helping around the house, listening to Mom's lectures on proper relationships, all while my thoughts drifted to Isabel. What was she doing? Did she miss our talks? The distance amplified everything, the rejection, the unspoken feelings. Mom's disapproval made me feel weak, like a kid again, but the ache for Isabel grew stronger. I realized then that I couldn't live without her, no matter the cost. The pressure had bent me, but it hadn't broken what I felt. A month dragged by in that small Wisconsin town, each day blending into the next like endless lines of code I couldn't debug. I helped around the house, fixing leaky faucets, mowing the lawn, anything to keep my hands busy and my mind off Isabel. Mom hovered, her lectures softening into concerned glances, but she didn't budge on her stance. You'll thank me later, she'd say, patting my shoulder. Grandma, frail and forgetful at 82, was the only bright spot. We'd sit on the porch, her sharing old stories while I nodded, half listening. But every night, alone in my childhood room, I'd scroll through our old texts. The last one from me, I'm sorry, I need some time. Still unread by her, or at least unanswered. The ache was constant, a hollow in my chest. I realized I couldn't stay away forever. Chicago called me back, but more than that, Isabel did. What if she'd moved on? What if my cowardice had ruined everything? Then came the call that changed it all. It was a frantic afternoon. Mom's phone rang while we were at the grocery store. Theo, it's the neighbor, Mrs. Harlan. Grandma's missing. My heart dropped. Grandma had insisted on visiting me in Chicago alone, taking the bus up without telling us. She'd arrived but wandered off at the station, her memory failing her again. Mom panicked, booking the next bus while I paced the kitchen, guilt twisting in my gut. If I'd been there? Hours stretched into agony. We called hospitals, police, anyone who might help. As evening fell, Mom's phone buzzed again, this time an unknown number. Hello? Yes, this is Clara. Oh, thank God. Mom's face flooded with relief, tears streaming. She's safe? Where? She listened, then handed me the phone, whispering, It's her. Isabel. I took it, my voice barely steady. Isabel? Theo. Her tone was calm, but warm, like nothing had changed. Your grandma's with me. I found her in the park near our building. She was sitting on a bench, confused, but okay. I recognized her from that photo you showed me once. The one from your birthday last year. I couldn't speak at first, the weight lifting and crashing all at once. Isabel explained. She'd been walking to clear her head after a tough day at school when she spotted an elderly woman matching the description from a missing persons alert she'd seen online. Grandma had my old family photo in her wallet, confirming it. Isabel had sat with her, bought her ice cream to calm her down, then called the number on Grandma's emergency card. Mom's. She's fine now, Isabel said softly. A bit tired, but smiling. I brought her to my place for tea. We rushed back to Chicago that night, Mom driving faster than usual, her knuckles white on the wheel. When we arrived, Isabel opened her door, Grandma beside her on the couch, wrapped in a blanket. Clara! Theo! Grandma beamed, oblivious to the worry. Mom hugged her tightly, sobbing thanks to Isabel. You saved her. How can I ever repay you? Isabel just smiled humbly. Anyone would have done the same. That evening shifted everything. Mom invited Isabel to dinner the next night at a nearby Italian place. Her treat. Over pasta and wine, the air was thick with unspoken tension at first, but Grandma's stories lightened it. Mom watched Isabel closely, her earlier judgments cracking. Later, back at my apartment, Mom and Grandma staying with me, Mom pulled me aside. She found my mother, Theo. Risked her own time for a stranger. Maybe I was wrong. If she makes you happy, really happy, I won't stand in the way. Her words hit like a release. That night, after everyone slept, I slipped out to the backyard shared by the building, a small patch of grass with a few chairs under string lights. Isabel was there as if she'd known I'd come, staring at the stars. Theo? She whispered when she saw me. I sat beside her, the words tumbling out. I remember every moment without you. The texts that never came, the tea I drank alone. I was weak. Let Mom's words scare me away, but I can't do this anymore. I need you. She turned, eyes shimmering. A tear escaped as she laughed softly. Silly boy, I missed you too. Every quiet evening felt empty. We leaned in, our foreheads touching, then embraced, the world fading around us. No grand promises, just the quiet mending of what had broken. Mom's acceptance came gradually. She saw Isabel's kindness firsthand, how it lit up Grandma's face, how it grounded me. Our love was forgiven, not through arguments, but through that small miracle of compassion. For the first time in weeks, hope bloomed, simple and real. After that emotional reunion in the backyard, life with Isabel settled into a rhythm that felt both new and familiar. Mom's acceptance opened doors I hadn't realized were closed. Family dinners where Grandma beamed at Isabel's stories. Casual texts from Mom asking about that nice neighbor. We didn't rush labels or announcements. We just let things be. Our evenings returned. Shared teas on the balcony, walks in the park, her head on my shoulder as we watched the city lights. The age gap faded into irrelevance, replaced by the quiet certainty that we fit. I started sleeping better, coding with focus, feeling anchored for the first time in years. But then came the separation. Isabel's school organized a 2-week professional development trip to New York. Workshops on curriculum design, networking with educators from across the country. She was excited, packing her suitcase with notebooks and comfortable shoes. It'll fly by, she said, kissing my cheek at the airport curb. Text me every silly thing that happens. I nodded, forcing a smile as her cab pulled away. Those 14 days stretched endlessly. Work kept me busy, but the apartment felt hollow without her knocks or laughter, echoing from next door. I'd text updates. Burned dinner again, or saw a kid in the park who reminded me of your stories. And she'd reply with photos of bustling streets or quick notes. Miss your tea already. But the distance amplified my thoughts. What if she realized during the trip that I was too young, too unproven? Mom noticed my restlessness during our calls. Give her space, Theo. Real things don't fade. The day she returned, I planned everything carefully. I knew her flight landed in the evening. She'd texted about grabbing a cab straight home, craving a hot shower and her own bed. While she was away, I dug through my security camera app, the one I'd installed after that first night, and found the grainy footage of her initial knock. Disheveled, desperate, fist raised mid-pound. I printed a still from it, framing it simply as a reminder of our start. Then I cooked. Her favorite stir-fry with extra veggies packed in a warm container. My heart raced as I waited in my apartment watching the clock. When I heard her door click open down the hall, I gave it a few minutes, then grabbed the box and photo, stepping out. I knocked softly, echoing that frantic rhythm from months ago, but gentler now. Footsteps approached, and the door swung open. Isabel stood there, travel-worn in jeans and a hoodie, her hair tousled from the flight. Surprise lit her face, melting into a tired smile. "Theo, what?" Before she could finish, I held up the food box. "Welcome back. Thought you might be too exhausted to cook." Her eyes softened, but I wasn't done. I pulled out the photo, handing it to her. It was black and white, time-stamped that fateful night, her figure at my door, vulnerable yet determined. She stared at it, fingers tracing the edges. "Where did you get this?" "Security cam. I almost deleted it, but it reminded me." I took a breath, meeting her gaze. "You knocked on my door on a night no one wants trouble. Scared, alone, trusting a stranger. And you became the best thing that's ever happened to me. Not despite the chaos, but because of it. You've shown me strength, kindness, what it means to really connect. I don't need grand plans or promises. I just want to be here, like this, every day I can." Her eyes welled up, the photo trembling slightly in her hand. She didn't speak at first, just stepped forward, wrapping her arms around me tightly. I hugged her back, inhaling the faint airport scent mixed with her familiar warmth. We stood there in the doorway, the hallway quiet around us, no words needed. Finally, she pulled back slightly, cupping my face. "You have no idea how much I needed this. The trip was good, but every night I thought about you, about us." We moved inside, the door clicking shut behind us. She set the photo on her table, next to a vase of wilting flowers from before her trip. We ate the stir-fry straight from the box, cross-legged on the floor, laughing about her workshop mishaps and my failed attempts at solo tea-making. The exhaustion from her journey faded as we talked, the space between us closing naturally. That night, we didn't plan futures or dissect the past. We just existed, content in the present. The sky outside remained clear, no rain in sight. But in our hearts, the sun had risen, warm, steady, illuminating what we'd built from a single knock.